Welcome back to pretty much the final proper video for OCR GCSE Business. There will be one more after this, which is 7, the interdependent nature of business, but that's a very short video and there's not really any proper content in there. It's just a quite specific unit, but it will be a really short video on that one that I'll go through. So the final one for Unit 6 is 6.3, which is globalization. So a couple of key terms here. Regulations are the rules about goods and services that can be sold in a country. So there's certain rules and regulations regarding what can be sold within the UK, and that will be different in China, and it will be different in Australia or in America and things like that. Trade is the import and export of goods and services. So, even if you're a small independent coffee shop in your local village, the likelihood is they'll be importing coffee beans from abroad. They probably won't, they almost 100% won't be exporting to other countries their coffee, but they will be importing it, those raw materials into the country from wherever it might be, and then they will be producing that coffee in their coffee shop. So even a small local business can be impacted by other countries' economy. So globalization is the process by which business activity around the world has become increasingly interconnected. So I know that word interconnected might sound a little bit confusing, but in reality all it means is connected. It just means obviously internationally connected. So globalization just basically means how we're becoming more connected to other countries. So if other countries build better airports, better train networks, better road networks, better broadband, we become more connected to them. But also, if us leaving the European Union, you could argue that reduced our globalization. We became less connected to other countries. So what does globalization involve? Buying and selling goods from other countries and services, the movement of workers from country to country, so employees moving different countries, and the movement of finance between countries as well, so money changing hands through different countries. Globalization in general has increased due to better transport networks, the internet and broadband speeds in different countries, and also free trade agreements. So I think I'll go into this in a bit more, but a free trade agreement is basically where you can trade between a country and there's no tariffs or quotas, so there's no cost involved there. When we were in the European Union, we used to be able to trade between France freely. Now we're not part of the European Union. When we want to import French brie, it becomes more expensive because we'll have a tax on top of that. So how does globalization impact on businesses? So the growth of multinational corporations, so MNCs is multinational corporations. So bigger businesses tend to do better if the world becomes more globalized. It also influences business location because you might think about locating nearer to airports and things like that. You have international branding. You might want to consider having a more international brand that's more well known worldwide if you're becoming more connected to other countries. And also it will impact on how businesses compete internationally, because if the UK becomes more connected to other countries, then that means the UK businesses has to fight against those other international businesses. So what's led to some of the growth of multinational companies? So a multinational company, good examples of things like Coca-Cola and Amazon, who are two of the biggest businesses in the world. So what's good about being a multinational? Well, you can increase your sales. You also spread your risk because you operate in different countries. So if they suddenly stop buying Coca-Cola in Brazil, it doesn't matter so much because they sell it in pretty much every other country all around the world. You get access to cheaper labour because you can get your production in places where employees are paid a lot less, like Sri Lanka or Pakistan or India, and where land is also cheaper. Disadvantage of being a multinational, there's a lot of legal differences in different countries, so you need maybe a lot of lawyers and teams of lawyers in different countries that can rise your costs up. Also, if you're operating in different countries, you've got transport costs of moving products between countries, and communication can be difficult, not just communication as in language barriers, but also things like people operating at different times of the day and stuff like that can be quite problematic. So influences on business location, benefits to UK businesses of locating in another country. You can potentially get lower costs, like I mentioned earlier. You can also access really good expertise or skilled workers. Like if you were setting up a UK mobile phone business, you wouldn't set up the production in the UK because it'd be too expensive and we lack the expertise or skills. You would set up a warehouse in China. And also it can increase your demand if you operate in another country because that's another country that can buy from you. Disadvantages of locating in another country: communication I've touched on before can be difficult, transport can be expensive and difficult, costs can rise as well, and also the environment. Are you having a damaging impact on the environment? Is your business therefore taking more flights because you're working as a multinational? International branding is creating an image for your business that is seen all around the world. You will need to consider several things about this before you have an international brand. There's some examples of some on the right that obviously haven't worked from an international branding point of view. So for example, P Cola, that's a cola that's sold in Ghana. That doesn't mean what it means in the UK. So if they came to the UK, they would have to change their name because no one's going to buy P Cola in the UK. Businesses need to consider the language they use, obviously, on their packaging and their brand name. They need to consider the level of income in that area. There's no point, Rolex setting up in a store in a really poor area in a country because people aren't going to buy them. And also need to think about legal factors. Legal factors are different from country to country. Okay, benefits and drawbacks of establishing an international brand. So benefits, you get a consistent message across different countries. You can also use global media, which can help reduce costs. You can also take advantage of global social media, and that, again, all helps to reduce your costs. Drawbacks, there can be a lack of knowledge of that country, and it will take time for you to become established in that country, and it can cost absolutely millions. So how businesses compete internationally then? Well, you've got to sort your marketing mix out. So make sure all your 4Ps are all doing really great and make sure they're applicable for each country. You can just export. So you can be a UK business based here and just sell abroad and just deliver your products that way. You can compete internationally by making sure your communication is good. Learn some different languages and have that expertise within your business. Learn the laws in different countries and also make sure you've got a good level of finance to be able to fund it all. Okay, that's it for 6.3. Thanks very much.